Hey guys, Tyler is awesome too here, and today I'm looking back at my Tyler Pitches Pixar Spider-Man video series, where I basically tell my Spider-Man story and, well, it's based on this, fan art of Spider-Man in a Pixar style, I'll pitch my movie about this, based on this fan art alone, and, well, I decided to basically I made my fan film to cue some channel pop at that one video how he would do a Spider-Man reboot, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, and after I did that video, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a whole television series, television television series spin-off of this movie, kind of like how Spider-Man the New Animated Series was essentially its own alternative sequel to the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. Basically, yeah. Though if, unlike that show, I actually did eventually tie my series idea to my movie sequel ideas. So, pops on me. Yeah, basically that. Darn, I keep doing long pauses. So applause to me. Yeah. So basically, yeah. I did my series, like it's already used lesser known Spider-Man villains. And I named my episode titles after the comic books, comic book titles, The titles of the story, I mean. Like, Ancient Man Called Tarantula and Duel of Death with the Vulture. Those are real comic book titles. And pretty much based on those stories. Basically. I did take influence from other Spider-Man shows and other fan ideas and other non-Spider-Man things or Marvel things at all. Like Return to the Ring episode, basically revisiting Peter's wrestling time and the time he was a wrestler that one time. And kind of influenced in that classic Ben 10 episode, from the original 2005 series, also Ben 10 is kind of linked to Spider-Man because, Yuri Lowenthal from the Insomniac games is also the guy who voiced Teenage Ben Tennyson, And the mystery of Mysterio, that's gotta be cringy or reductive or whatever. So, yeah, basically, I did this twist thing where, pull the mystery of the Batwoman, where the three people who've been Mysterio in the comics, who are basically all Mysterio, all using the alias at different points, to appear at the same time, so that no one would expect them, the plot is also kind of Mystery of the Batwoman-like, if more than that, Time My Little Pony also pulled that twist, Ooh, and there's that Kraven the Hunter episode, which is basically a carbon copy of the 90s series episode of, we're also by the same name, also the same as the character, and if they're 1 to 8 thing, because, there's not much talk about these episodes, these premises, and, also, I just want to head to the Lizard stuff. Also, name of the 90s series episode. Basically, I watched it as a kid via VHS and DVD, when I was a kid. I guess that's, along with the Raimi films, are my basic introduction to Spider-Man, Yeah. yeah, Shocker and Vulture stuff was basically influenced from their team up in the 2002 tie-in game for the first Sam Raimi film, basically, where they team up and all, where they team up to steal money and whatnot. Also, yeah, back when Vulture was introduced, he was just a guy who uses uses wings just to steal stuff. There's no backstory to him. Not until, like, almost 20 years. And, like, which in 2 issues after the Hobgoblin was introduced, by the way. Yeah, that's when his origin was revealed. Also, he wasn't named at the time. The name is Urian Tombstone came till later. So, yeah. Yeah, this also seemed to influence Shocker and Vulture's team up in Spider-Man Homecoming. So, yeah. And we got this season 1 finale, the Scorpion stings again, because, Scorpion sting and whatnot, because, Scorpion, he was one of the villains of the first movie, along with Electro. We basically kind of turned into a sometimes ally, sometimes enemy type character, because, why not? I guess. Oh, and Season 2, basically a symbiote saga, basically, where which might take, some influence from the Raimi, the Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man the Animated Series, at least, also from the tie-in game for Spider-Man 3, and, basically, also, basically had some of the villains who appear in the season for the first time, basically in their powers through symbiotes who just mutated, Looter basically having, the symbiote came from a meteor, and, Looter has powers, Meteor Man, so why not tie those two together, and the fact that Looter is kind of, this guy who collects other villains' gears and whatnot, also tying it to steal other symbiotes and make him become hybrid, it kind of works differently since different symbiotes, but fuck with it. Fuck source material accuracy here. Sorry. And I don't mean to disrespect the source material, by the way. And basically, the final episode of the second season, basically just your stereotypical Venom stuff, Then we got Season 3, which is essentially based on the Spider-Man 2, Basically, it's a bit more drawn out because it's a television series. Really get to know Ock before his transformation, Dr. Octopus. Then we also got a Sinister Six stuff, though it's not the usual Sinister Six, just Ock and Vulture, basically. Who are the well-known villains here. This kind of feels like a bit of a what if the Sinister Six appeared in Spider-Man 2, basically, Yeah. And basically the ending also kind of mirrors Spider-Man 2, in a way. Also, Venom sometimes appears just to, get revenge on Spidey, blah, 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 etc., etc. Rematches, whatnot. I think he appeared one just in Season 3 or 4. I gotta check how many episodes he appears in. I gotta check these things, so I can remember everything, Then in Season 4, we got stuff with, the Beetle, Tombstone, whatnot. And Season 5 continues on that, and, also, I'm really pushing Scorpion as the reoccurring villain because, he was in the first movie, I'm just really pushing Scorpion. Not too much, just he appears once every he appears once like every season, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like I gave him I have him just a simple sequel to his original story, then, we get the symbiote like in the comics, then well, basically also, there's a trial of Jameson where he attacks Jameson, got based on that comic book story where Jameson got put on trial and Spider-Man sued him. So, yeah, then we also have him hear about a cure as an attempt to, basically, he hears about a cure for Connors, that basically would probably cure him, and then we got him being wrapped up in the whole, tombstone stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, and that's the end of the Scorpion story, who decides, you know what, he's just done with everything, and decided to go into hiding, and realize he decides, he's not doing crime anymore, Kind of like a Spider-Man the Animated Series stuff, just briefly went to hiding for a bit, Also, another thing, the Lizard just doesn't appear till, 4 seasons after his initial season debate. So, yeah. I just hold off on the Lizard for quite a while. Also, there's also, basically there was no acknowledgement of other Marvel heroes and whatnot because, I just didn't really have plans for all that, there just never was. I just didn't have plans. I just didn't think about it. I just didn't know what to do with those Marvel characters in the Pixar universe, so I just didn't have other superheroes and had to do this world where Spider-Man's alone, mostly ish thing, And then we got the sequel movies, Pixar Spider-Man 2 and Pixar Spider-Man 3, no subtitles, just numbering, I guess. Basically the second movie basically has Green Goblin, Chameleon, Black Cat, and Hammerhead and all in it. Basically, something about Peter's parents, whatnot, kind of like in the Mark Webb movies. I think I did better, I guess. So, because, I guess Chameleon, Green Goblin, I guess these team-ups were inspired off of the villain selection was inspired off of Spectacular Spider-Man because, Chameleon working for Green Goblin to impersonate him and whatnot. Black Hat, I think, and Hammerhead relationship also kind of happened in the Insomniac games. So. And also, Hammerhead attack. Green Goblin versus Hammerhead thing, that was too, and Chameleon was stealing off of both from, that Black Cat was also there, and Spider-Man thwarts him. Because, he had the symbiote, And I think Hammerhead and Black Cat also interact in Spectacular, and I gotta check, So, yeah. And then we got the third movie. Yeah, before we get to that, before we get into that, you also know that Green Goblin is cured at the end, and kind of inspired by the comic books where his identity was revealed, and, basically also, the Chameleon in this version was inspired off of Darkman because, how his masker similar made and how he got disfigured and whatnot. Yeah. Anyway, third movie, then what Incredibles like, where the Spider-Man, we have Rhino who just shows up and but he fights him, and there's, you know, the Incredibles 2 nonsense where, you know, Spider-Man needs good publicity, and, you know, I think it was inspired by the whole Spider Buggy arc when I was writing this, you know, because, you know, two guys approach Spider-Man about a vehicle thing, or help Spider-Man make it, or whatever, and, company, or whatnot, and, you know, Spider-Cycle from the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, because, you know, motorcycles are a cool new thing, and, yeah, and there's this, in Swarm, there's a new villain called Swarm, and who is his identity, and he kind of looks like he did in 2017 series. They're just looking great in Pixar style, you know. And he uses Rhino, and yeah, these two are just gonna commit crimes regardless of Spider-Man's existence. So, yeah, so Spidey can't be put to blame, basically. And it's a pretty good conclusion to the story of this Spider-Man, you know. I'm sorry, and I'm ashamed I didn't do Mr. Negative and whatnot, basically. And it's a real shame. Maybe we can do a lost story type of thing, you know? Or lost episode, or whatever pitch. So yeah. Looking back on this series, I was definitely in my early revival days after a certain absence. I think I hit my YouTube view peak with my Ben 10 videos. Basically, you know, all this stuff, you know, where I was making Ben 10 content, and, you know, my Ben 10 stuff where I was just doing, basically just turning to aliens, whatnot, and using, just lazy editing, whatnot. And, look at this. Hold on. Most popular. Most used is this one. It's only 30. Oh, look at this. 957K. And this is only like 53 seconds long. So I must have done something right. Or maybe YouTube is just being YouTube. I don't know. And look at these. Yeah, basically I must have done something. Yeah, seriously. I must have done something right. You also pay way to all my Spider-Man pitches, like, you know, like, why I pitch a series in a similar vein to Batman the Caped Crusader, you know, Spider-Man the Web Slinger, or basically do a rewrite of the 2017 series. Those are my pitches. Basically. You know, I should do a video on my, you know, about my Ben 10s. You know, do a video retrospective on my Ben 10s, old Ben 10 videos too, and focus on and showcase and, you know, basically talk about my early days, basically, you know? Anyway, I mean, yeah, those Pixar Spider-Man videos were, like, a bit dated and kind of they're probably sloppy, and, basically, yeah. I'm not sloppy as those older Ben 10 videos. My first videos, am I right? And, when I have better quality stuff like this. I don't like you pausing. And the timing was basically it's mostly perfect, basically. So yeah, basically, I think I'm starting to think about coming. I think about back to the series. I think of how I could improve my storytelling potential. The ideas I have and whatnot, and yada yada yada, etc. etc. And basically, you know, we all need to look back on our past and not ignore it. Basically, so yeah, you know, basically I'll end off right here. Last video of the month. Like, subscribe, notifications, comment section, and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm Tyler's Awesome 2, and peace.